So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel. Now, I'm sure you would have all heard the news that Jason Blundell has left Deviation Games, and you might be thinking, okay Eli, what does this have to do with Call of Duty? Jason left Treyarch a long time ago at the end of Black Ops 4's life cycle, but there has always been this cult following, I guess you could describe it as, around Jason. Even since he's left, a lot of people who were fans of Treyarch or Call of Duty Zombies have followed him over to Deviation Games just simply because they're interested in what he's doing over there. No one actually knows. My phone's just gone off. No one's actually too sure what genre of game Deviation are actually making yet. A lot of people think that it's going to be a zombies game, simply I think just because Jason Blundell's gone there, along with a load of other former Treyarch developers as well. But when you really think about it, the chance of that is very, very minuscule. Even though Jason Blundell was the co-owner of Deviation, somehow I just think another zombies game wasn't in his plans. He did a ton of that with Treyarch. He worked on the multiplayer and the campaign side at the beginning of his career, and then later on moved over to zombies. And we still don't know the actual reason why Jason left Treyarch. There were a lot of speculations, some I don't want to bring up again. Some of that he wanted to be free of the shackles of Activision. We do know that people working under them have restrictions, which you would expect, they are the publishers, but compared to a lot of video game companies, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, Raven, any of the others don't necessarily have as much freedom to express themselves and do what they want. So that could have been one of the reasons why Jason left Treyarch, to create his own studio and make whatever video game he wanted without Activision telling him what to do, which is one of the reasons why I think maybe they weren't making another zombies game. But either way, I was excited to see what he and his team were going to create, simply because I was a massive fan of his products before. Jason was the head of Treyarch Zombies. He was the one at the top during BO3 along with a few other people. That's one of my favourite zombies games, and he also worked on BO4. COD Zombies has this passionate cult following, so I love Treyarch Zombies, and a lot of other people did. I loved the work that he and all of the Treyarch employees did during that time. It was because of that a lot of people are excited to see what he was going to create at Deviation, and also because a load of other former Treyarch developers were now working there. It was exciting. If you're a fan of what Treyarch did, then there was a reason, and still is, to be excited for what Deviation were going to make. But like I mentioned, Jason has now left. Deviation Games put out this statement where they said, "We are announcing that Jason Blundell has left the studio. We appreciate the contributions Jason has made, and we wish him the best for his future endeavours. Deviation will continue to be led by CEO Dave Anthony, who has assumed the role of game director this past year and remains a guiding force as we look ahead. We are excited to announce that Louis Castle has joined Deviation Games as Senior Vice President of Development, a video game industry veteran with 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards. Louis co-founded Westwood Studios, best known for creating the legendary Command and Conquer franchise. Louis has joined an incredible roster of industry veterans who recently joined the studio, including God of War, Jonathan Hawkins and Dean Raymer, and Call of Duty Black Ops guru Tony Flame," which is another big surprising one I haven't mentioned. This plethora of talent makes Deviation uniquely equipped to continue leading the ever-evolving gaming industry into the future, including with the continued development of our previous announced game-breaking AAA original IP. So it's surprising news because Jason has now left Deviation. We have no idea why or what he's gone on to do. Has he gone to work at another studio? Some people speculate that it's because he's gone back to work at Treyarch. I very much doubt that. Why he could have left? Some of the other speculations have been because of Sony, but as far as I'm aware, Deviation aren't owned by Sony, they're just being funded by them. So that shouldn't come along with restraints like what Jason would have witnessed with Treyarch and Activision. It wouldn't be the same with Deviation and Sony. So I don't know the reason why he's left, but I don't think that takes away any of the reasons that people would have had to be excited about what this company is doing. Like they mentioned right at the end here, yet another Treyarch developer, this time Tony Flame, has recently left Treyarch and he's now working there, along with countless other Treyarch developers. And on the flip side, looking at Treyarch's situation, this also impacts them. We've already had a ton of developers leave over the past couple of years. More are now leaving. Tony's just left. What does this mean for the future of Treyarch's games? Will we see a massive difference from what we saw in Cold War compared to COD 2024? And I can only see the answer as being yes. And this goes for any company. When employees leave, when higher ups leave, when those minds leave that created past products and new minds come in, that's then different ideas. And although there are still a lot of the same people working there that have been at Treyarch since World at War, Black Ops 1, the very early days, that have worked on all of these zombies games, a lot of those people are still there. A lot of them also aren't, and a lot of them have moved on recently during BO4, Cold War and Vanguard Zombies. So that could also mean we will be seeing differences in Treyarch Zombies going forward, and I think we did kind of start to see hints of that during Black Ops Cold War. You can notice that game and then Vanguard after is quite a bit different to BO4, 3, 2, 1 World at War Zombies. I don't quite know how to put my finger on it, but there is a difference. There are a lot of things that come into play there. It's not just down to new employees, new brains, new ideas, but Treyarch have been in a bit of a mess lately, not down to them, but more down to Activision, making them work on Vanguard Zombies, not giving them the full time to work on Cold War Zombies, restrictions of budget and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily down to Treyarch, but it's undeniable that we have started to see changes in zombies, them starting to move away from the old formula that worked for so long and try new things. And as we progress, as we have to wait 2 years now until 2024, until their next game, I think when that does come out, it could be even more different. In the same way that when Jason Blundell left Treyarch the first time around, a lot of people said that Treyarch is different now. It doesn't feel the same. There is a noticeable difference. That spark that it had whilst he was there isn't really visible anymore. In the same way that that was said all the way back then at the end of BO4 and the beginning of Cold War. People also said that when it was announced that Jason Blundell had left Deviation, that they weren't really interested in whatever they were making anymore. And around about the same time that happened, maybe this is or isn't related, but Josh Torres, who is the senior community manager at Treyarch, I didn't even know that there was a community manager at Treyarch. I was talking about that not long ago in a previous video, but he said it's cool when public stakeholder developers exist for large teams / IPs. They get to talk about cool things coming to the game, and players get to have some light interaction. What's not cool is when players misinterpret that person as the be all and end all of a mode or IP. More often than not, entire teams are behind the success of your favourite things, and the ideas filter in from everywhere. Very seldom is the stakeholder the single reason something is good or bad. I figured I'd share these thoughts as I see some commentary on my timeline. So I don't know if this is specifically talking about Jason leaving Deviation. Whether you want to admit it or not, that is one of the reasons why a lot of people were excited for what Deviation were making, because we don't know nothing about them. We don't even know what game they're making. So Jason Blundell, along with other Treyarch employees, was one of the reasons why a lot of Treyarch fans were excited to see what they were going to create. And now that he's left, I've noticed some people, not everyone, aren't as interested. And as Josh says here, it is entire teams that are behind the success of video games, not one person, which we all know it's the same for Treyarch Zombies. I said something similar a long time ago, back in 2021, where I tweeted Zombies lost its personality when Jason Blundell left. The passion that man had for this mode shone through not only in his interviews and how he interacted with the community, but that was also reflected in his games. Now it's become the same generic shit we've seen with MP for years. And what I meant by this, I do think I could have worded it better, but I was talking about his interaction with the community. I do think that's one thing that Treyarch is missing now. During those BO3 days, we had Jason Blundell that would come out every DLC or almost every DLC and interact with the community or YouTubers. Even back then, before him, Black Ops 2, we had Jimmy Zelensky. He was the kind of figurehead of Zombies, and that just made it a hell of a lot more interesting for whatever reason. Zombies is vastly different to a lot of video games. In that way, it's kind of weird. But then, after he left during Cold War and Vanguard, or the end of BO4 when he wasn't present, it has, as I mentioned in this tweet, but there is that thing missing in terms of personality. And of course, it's not something you have to do. Not actually, most video game developers don't do this. They don't have a figurehead that comes out and talks to you or interacts with the community. Some developers will just give you the product and then that's it. There's no relationship between us, the fans, and them. Treyarch were different in that way. And I say were because that's not really a thing anymore. If I'm not wrong in saying the person that replaced Jason Blundell was Kevin Drew. Unlike Jason, he does have a Twitter and he does reply now and again, and apparently I didn't know this, a lot of people told me, but there is a community manager for Treyarch who is Josh Torres. I don't know if it's for Treyarch as a whole or the multiplayer portion or the zombies portion, but from what I can see that's just a personal account, and it's actually Treyarch CM who is the community account. But when I look at this, they don't really reply to anyone, they just put out tweets of updates they've done in the game. So when I look at replies, just picking out one, you've got someone here saying the exfil is broken, but there isn't really anything from Treyarch or any Treyarch employees saying, well, this is when we'll fix it, or this is the reason why this is broke, this is the reason why we don't have this in Cold War or Vanguard Zombies, which is what we kind of used to have. And I can understand it. I remember this article that was titled Destiny 2 dev harassment has directly led to less communication from Bungie. We know whenever there's a community head for any video game developer, it could be Bungie, Treyarch, Rockstar, whenever you've got someone like that who does interact with the community, that person is then going to get hate when there is something in the game that a fan doesn't like, and sometimes the hate can be, well, it can turn into death threats, harassment. So you can also see the reason why video game companies wouldn't want to communicate with their fans, why they probably shouldn't have a relationship between developers and fans. That's why there's now less communication between Bungie and their fans. The same thing happened for Modern Warfare in 2019. That was why there was a lot less communication between Infinity Ward and their fans, or well, it's the same. And that could be one of the reasons why there's now a lot less communication between Treyarch and their fans. I don't know, I just thought it was something to discuss, something to think about, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.